The dark beginning. The night was quiet in the small town. The streets were empty, and the only sound was the wind moving through the trees. Daniel, a young man with tired eyes, walked alone along the broken road. He often liked walking at night. The silence gave him peace, but on this night the silence felt heavy. Something was wrong. Daniel slowed down when he reached the old field outside the town. It was a place people avoided. Long ago, the land belonged to a farmer, but now it was only dry dirt and wild grass. The moonlight fell across the ground, and Daniel thought he saw something move. He stopped. He listened. Then he heard it. A sound, very soft, almost like a whisper. It was not the wind. Help me. Daniel froze. His heart began to beat fast. He turned his head, looking around, but the field was empty. He held his breath. The voice came again, weak and broken. Help, please. Daniel stepped into the field. His shoes sank into the loose soil. He followed the sound, step by step, his ears sharp, his eyes searching. The voice was coming from the ground itself. He dropped to his knees and pressed his ear against the dirt. He heard it again. A small cry. Someone was under the earth. Daniel's hands shook. He began to dig with his fingers, pulling away the dirt faster and faster. His nails cut into the soil. The whisper grew louder. His heart pounded. Finally, his hand touched something soft, something not dirt. It was a small hand, cold, weak. Daniel gasped and dug harder until he uncovered a face. It was a girl, maybe 10 years old, but her skin was pale blue, glowing faintly in the dark. Her eyes opened slowly, shining like silver stars. She looked at him and her lips moved. Help me. Daniel pulled her out of the dirt. She was thin, fragile, and shaking. She wore torn clothes that looked strange, not from earth. He could feel she was not human. Who are you? Daniel whispered. The girl coughed, trying to breathe. Her voice was small, broken. My name is Lyra. Daniel looked around. The field was silent again, but he felt eyes on him. Someone was watching. His skin crawled. He held the girl close. Who did this to you? He asked softly. The girl's eyes filled with fear. She tried to speak, but her voice broke. Stepmother tried to bury me. Daniel could not believe what he heard. Buried alive? By her own stepmother? He shook his head. You're safe now, he whispered, though even he was not sure it was true. Suddenly the wind picked up. A cold chill ran through the air. Daniel turned. For a moment, he thought he saw a shadow moving at the edge of the field. A tall figure. Watching, the girl grabbed his arm tightly. She is near, Lyra whispered. She will find me. Daniel felt fear crawl through his chest, but at the same time, he felt something else. Responsibility. He could not leave this child here. He could not walk away. Don't worry, he said firmly, even though his hands still shook. I'll protect you. The girl's silver eyes stared at him. For the first time, a faint light of hope shone in them, but the night was not silent anymore. From far away, Daniel heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, coming closer. He picked Lyra up in his arms. She was light like a feather. He started walking fast, then running away from the field. The footsteps behind him grew louder. Run, Lyra whispered weakly. She can smell me. Daniel didn't look back. He ran through the field, his breath loud in his chest. The shadows moved behind him, chasing. Finally, he reached the edge of town, his house only a short distance away. He pushed open the door, rushed inside and locked it quickly. Daniel leaned against the wall, breathing hard. He looked down at the little alien girl in his arms. Her eyes were half closed, but she was alive. For now. Outside in the distance, he thought he heard a woman's voice calling. Soft and cruel. Lyra. Daniel shivered. He knew this was only the beginning. The alien child's secret Daniel did not sleep that night. The strange girl lay on his old sofa, wrapped in a blanket, her silver eyes sometimes opening, sometimes closing again. He sat in the wooden chair across from her, watching the shadows move on the walls. His mind was a storm. Who was she? What was she? And why had she been buried alive in the dirt? When the first light of morning touched the curtains, the girl finally spoke. Her voice was weak, like a dry leaf moving in the wind. "My name is Lyra," she said. Daniel leaned forward. "Lyra, why were you in the ground?" She turned her glowing eyes toward him. Her lips trembled before the words came out. "Stepmother put me there. She wanted me gone." Daniel felt a chill. The thought of any mother burying her child alive was terrible. But something told him this was not a normal family. He asked slowly, "Why would she do that?" Lyra closed her eyes. "Because I am not fully human." Daniel froze. He had guessed it, but hearing the words made his chest tighten. "Not human?" The girl shook her head. Her blue skin seemed brighter in the morning light. "My father was human, but my mother, she was from the stars." Daniel rubbed his face. Half human, half alien. It sounded like madness, yet the truth sat right in front of him, breathing. "What happened to your father?" he asked. Her voice broke as she whispered. "He died. After that, she came. She took me. She called herself my stepmother." Daniel frowned. "And she buried you alive?" "Yes." Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "She fears me. She fears my voice." "Your voice?" Daniel asked carefully. Lyra sat up a little. Her small hands shook as she held the blanket close. "When I speak with feeling, people hear more than words. They feel my thoughts, my emotions, my pain, my hope. It is dangerous for them, and dangerous for her." Daniel leaned back in shock. Could it be true? A voice that could touch the mind itself? Lyra looked at him with sudden fear. "You must not keep me here. She will come. She will find me." As if on cue, a loud knock shook Daniel's front door. Bang, bang, bang. Daniel jumped up, his heart racing. He signaled Lyra to stay quiet. He walked slowly to the door, his breath caught in his chest. A cold female voice spoke from the other side. "Good morning, I am looking for a girl, small, strange. You wouldn't have seen her, would you?" Daniel swallowed hard. He did not open the door. "No," he said firmly. "No one like that here." Silence. Then a slow laugh. "If you see her, I'd tell her I always find what is mine." The footsteps faded away. Daniel locked the door twice. When he turned back, Lyra was shaking her eyes wide with terror. "She knows," Lyra whispered. "She will not stop." Daniel sat down beside her. "Listen to me. You're safe here. I won't let her take you." But even as he said it, he felt doubt. Whoever that woman was, she didn't sound like an ordinary stepmother. There was something unnatural in her voice. Lyra reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cold, but her touch was gentle. "You are kind," she said softly. "Most humans would fear me, but you stay." Daniel looked into her glowing eyes and felt something strange stir inside him, a warmth, as if her words had entered his very soul. Before he could speak, Lyra's head snapped toward the window. She whispered, "They are coming." Daniel frowned. "Who?" "The hunters," Lyra answered. "Her servants. They will search every street. They will smell the dirt of the grave on me. We must leave." Daniel stood quickly. He knew she was right. If they stayed, they would both be trapped. He grabbed his old backpack, threw in water, bread, and a flashlight. Lyra pulled the blanket around her small frame. She looked weak, but her eyes were sharp with warning. If they catch us, she will bury me again, but this time I will not come back. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then we won't let them catch us. The sound of engines rumbled in the distance. Dark vans moved, slowly through the town. Men in black coats stepped out, their eyes scanning the houses. Daniel opened the back door. "Come on," he whispered. Lyra followed him into the early morning shadows. The hunt had begun. The hunters arrived. The morning sky was gray when Daniel and Lyra slipped into the forest behind his house. The air was cold and damp, and every sound seemed louder than usual. The snap of a twig, the rustle of leaves, the beat of Daniel's fast steps. Behind them, engines growled. The black vans moved through the town like predators, slow but certain. "They are close," Lyra whispered, her silver eyes darting around. "They can smell fear. They can hear heartbeats." Daniel gripped her hand tighter. "Then stay close, to me." The forest was thick, the trees tall and old. Daniel had walked here many times in his life, but never like this. Never running for his life with a strange child glowing faintly in the shadows. His lungs burned as he pushed deeper into the woods. Suddenly a sharp crack echoed behind them. Daniel turned. Between the trees he saw dark figures, men in black coats. Their eyes shone with an unnatural light, almost golden. Hunters. Daniel pulled Lyra down behind a fallen log. They crouched, holding their breath. The hunters spread out, their footsteps heavy on the leaves. One of them sniffed the air like a wolf catching a scent. "They know we're here," Lyra whispered, trembling. Daniel looked around. He had no weapon, no plan. His mind raced. "Think, Daniel. Think." Then he spotted an old hunting shack deeper in the woods. Broken roof, half collapsed, but it could give them a place to hide. "Come on," he whispered, pulling Lyra along. They ran, the hunters' voices behind them growing louder. Strange words echoed through the trees. Not human language, but something sharp, alien. Daniel didn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. "Find her. Kill him." They reached the shack. Daniel pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, making his heart jump. Inside, it smelled of damp wood and rust. Broken. Tools lay scattered on the floor. "Hide here," Daniel told her. He moved some old boards and motioned for Lyra to crawl underneath. She hesitated, fear in her eyes, but finally slid into the dark space. Daniel covered her with the boards again, leaving only a small gap so she could breathe. Then he stood with his back to the door, fists clenched. He was no fighter, but he would not let them take her. The door burst open. 2 hunters stepped inside. Their faces looked almost human, but wrong. Their skins stretched too tight, their eyes glowing gold, their movements sharp and cold. Daniel's heart pounded. One hunter stepped closer, sniffing the air. "She was here," he growled in a low voice. The other tilted his head, listening. "She is near, very near." Daniel grabbed the closest thing he could find, an old rusted axe handle. He gripped it tight, sweat running down his face. The hunters turned to him. One smirked, showing sharp teeth. "You hide her. Human. Foolish." Before Daniel could think, the hunter lunged. Daniel swung the axe handle with all his strength. It cracked against the hunter's head, sending him stumbling back. But the man did not fall. He only growled, his eyes burning brighter. The second hunter moved toward the boards. He had found Lyra. "No!" Daniel shouted. He charged, slamming into the hunter with his shoulder. They crashed into the wall, splinters flying. The hunter grabbed Daniel by the neck, lifting him off the ground with terrifying strength. Daniel gasped, choking. His vision blurred. Under the boards, Lyra's eyes filled with fear. Her lips moved. She began to whisper. Her voice was soft at first, then stronger, echoing through the shack. It was not just sound. It was feeling. Wave of fear, sadness, and defiance rolled through the air. The hunters froze. Their golden eyes flickered. Daniel fell to the ground, coughing. He looked up in shock. Lyra was standing now, her small body glowing brighter, her voice trembling, but powerful. The hunters staggered back, clutching their heads as if her words cut into their minds. One of them screamed, a sound not human. "Stop them, Daniel," Lyra cried. Daniel grabbed the axe handle again and swung it hard, striking the first hunter in the chest. The man collapsed against the wall. The second stumbled toward the door, his eyes wild before vanishing into the forest with a hiss. Silence fell. Daniel's chest heaved as he dropped the weapon. His arms shook. Lyra stood trembling, her glow fading. She fell to her knees. Daniel rushed to her side, holding her up. "You saved me," he whispered. Her eyes opened slowly. "No. I only slowed them. They will come again. Stronger." Daniel looked at the broken door, the ruined shack, the forest beyond. He knew she was right. This was only the beginning, and now he was part of it. The hidden truth. The forest was silent again, but Daniel's heart still pounded from the fight. His hands were scratched, his arms bruised, yet all he could think about was the girl beside him. Lyra leaned against him, weak but alive, her silver eyes dim like fading stars. They walked for hours, deeper into the woods, far from the road. Daniel knew they could not go back to town. The hunters would return, and next time there would be more of them. At last, they stopped near an old river. Daniel sat on a rock, his chest heaving, while Lyra crouched close to the water. Her reflection shimmered in the ripples, half human, half alien, something caught between two worlds. Daniel finally asked the question that burned in his mind. "Who are they, Lyra?" "Those hunters. They weren't human." Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up, her face pale but steady. "They are my stepmother's servants. They were once human, but she changed them." "Changed them?" Daniel repeated, his throat dry. She nodded. "Her people know how to take human bodies and twist them, make them faster, stronger, loyal only to her." Daniel shivered. He thought of the hunters' glowing eyes, their inhuman strength. They were not monsters from space. They were humans, stolen and corrupted. Lyra's voice grew softer. "She is part of a secret race. They have been here for years, hiding, watching, waiting. They plan to take this world slowly, quietly. No wars, no armies, only control. One mind at a time." Daniel clenched his fists. "And you? Why does she want to bury you?" The girl's eyes glistened. "Because I am different. My mother was one of them, but she loved my father, a human. Their bond gave me a gift my stepmother fears, my voice. With it, I can reach hearts, not just minds. I can break her control." Daniel felt the weight of her words. A child with a voice that could fight alien power. No wonder her stepmother wanted her gone. Lyra's shoulders trembled. "She wanted to use me as a weapon first, to make me hers. But I refused, so she buried me in the dirt, hoping the earth would silence me forever." Daniel shook his head. "That's why she'll never stop. She knows you're still alive." Lyra stared at the river. "And she has already built her nest." Daniel frowned. "Nest?" The girl pointed downstream. "Her base, hidden behind the factory walls. People think it is only machines and smoke, but inside, she keeps humans. Some work, some never return." Daniel's stomach twisted. He had passed that factory many times, never knowing what it really was. A prison, a place of experiments. "How do you know all this?" he asked. "I escaped once," Lyra whispered. "I saw what she was doing and I ran. That was when she caught me. That was when she buried me." Silence hung heavy between them. Daniel looked at her, this small, fragile child carrying secrets too dark for her age. She had survived horrors most grown men could not imagine. He put his hand on her shoulder. "We'll stop her, somehow." Lyra's eyes widened. "No, Daniel. She is too strong. If you fight her, you will die." Daniel gave a small, tired smile. "Maybe. But if I do nothing, she wins anyway." Before Lyra could answer, a strange hum filled the air. Daniel turned. Across the river, hidden in the mist, stood tall structures. black towers rising from the earth, pulsing faint blue light. Lyra's face went pale. She has already begun. Daniel stared in shock. The towers looked alive, their lights flickering like beating hearts. Around them, humans walked in lines, faces blank, eyes empty, as if controlled by invisible strings. "Dear God," Daniel whispered. "She's using them." Lyra nodded slowly. "She spreads her voice through those towers. Every day, more humans fall under her control. Soon, no one will resist." Daniel's chest tightened. This wasn't just about saving one child anymore. This was about saving everyone. He turned to Lyra. "Then we destroy those towers." Lyra's lips parted, in fear. "You don't understand. She is always watching. If we move against her, she will come herself." Daniel clenched his jaw. "Then let her come." Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed in the distance. Daniel pulled Lyra close, his eyes scanning the trees. He felt it. Someone watching them again. Then a voice drifted across the river, cold and cruel, carried by the wind. "Lyra, you cannot hide forever." Daniel's blood ran cold. It was her, the stepmother, and she was closer than ever. The escape plan night covered the land like a heavy blanket. The air smelled of smoke drifting from the tall black factory in the distance. Its towers pulsed with strange blue light, glowing against the sky like warning signals. Daniel and Lyra sat inside a small cave at the edge of the forest. A fire burned low between them, giving just enough warmth to keep the night chill away. Daniel studied the flickering lights of the factory. His jaw was tight, his eyes sharp. "That's where she keeps her machine, isn't it?" Lyra nodded, slowly. Her silver eyes reflected the fire. "Yes. Inside, she keeps the heart of her control, the core. It spreads her voice through the towers. Without it, she cannot reach human minds." Daniel leaned forward. "Then we destroy it." Lyra's face grew pale. "It is not that simple. The core is guarded. Hunters fill the halls, and she—" Lyra's lips trembled. "She is always near it." Daniel's voice hardened. "If we do nothing, she wins. Look around you, Lyra. Every day more people will become her slaves. That factory isn't just her base, it's the end of this world. We have to try." The little alien girl looked at him for a long time. Finally, she whispered, "If we go, you may die." Daniel gave a faint smile. "If we don't go, everyone will." Silence fell between them. The fire crackled softly. For the first time, Lyra reached out her hand, small and trembling, and placed it on his. "Then we go together," she said. By midnight, they moved through the shadows. Daniel carried his old backpack, stuffed with ropes, tools, and a few homemade explosives he had once used for blasting tree stumps. Lyra walked silently at his side, her bare feet barely making a sound on the dirt. The factory loomed ahead, a giant of black metal and blue light. Smoke hissed from vents. Strange humming filled the night air, like a heartbeat that never stopped. They crouched behind a broken fence. Daniel scanned the guards, hunters in black coats, their golden eyes glowing faintly as they patrolled. They moved with machine-like precision, their faces empty of all human warmth. Daniel whispered, "We'll go through the drainage tunnels, less guarded." Lyra nodded, her eyes full of fear but also trust. They slipped into the tunnels, the smell of rust and damp metal pressing around them. Water dripped from pipes. Their footsteps echoed softly, like whispers in the dark. Halfway through, Lyra froze. Her eyes widened. "Stop," she whispered. Daniel halted. "What is it?" She pointed ahead. A hunter stood in the shadows, blocking the path. His head tilted slowly. Listening, Daniel held his breath. The hunter sniffed the air. His golden eyes glowed brighter. Then Lyra closed her eyes. Her lips moved. A faint hum escaped her throat. Her voice, soft but powerful, spread through the tunnel. Daniel felt it inside. Him, Not words, but emotions. Calm, silence, emptiness. The hunter blinked slowly. His body relaxed. His eyes dimmed. He turned and walked away as if nothing was there. Daniel stared at Lyra, amazed. "You controlled him." She shook her head quickly. "Not for long, only a whisper. If I try too hard, she will feel me." Daniel nodded and they kept moving. They reached the end of the tunnel. A metal grate led into the main factory hall. Daniel peeked through, and his stomach dropped. The hall was massive, filled with machines that hummed and hissed. In the center stood a giant crystal-like core, glowing with blue fire. Around it, dozens of humans worked with blank faces, moving like puppets. Hunters marched along the walkways above, guarding every corner. Lyra's face tightened with fear. "The core," she whispered. Daniel's hand gripped the small explosives in his pack. "That's what we need to destroy." But before they could move, a deep, cold voice echoed across the hall. "Did you really think I would not feel you, child?" Daniel's blood froze. He turned his head. On the walkway above stood a tall woman cloaked in black. Her skin shimmered faint blue, her eyes sharp and cruel. She smiled down at them like a predator finding prey. Lyra gasped, her voice breaking. "Stepmother." The woman raised her hand and every hunter in the hall turned toward the tunnel. Their golden eyes burned brighter, their footsteps heavy as they began to march. Daniel pulled Lyra back. "Run!" They scrambled through the tunnel, the sound of hunters chasing close behind. Lyra's breathing was fast, panicked. "She knows where we are now." Daniel gritted his teeth. His mind raced. They couldn't go back, they couldn't stay. But they couldn't give up either. He looked at Lyra, his eyes burning with determination. "We'll come back, and next time, we'll bring it down." The tunnel shook with the sound of hunters approaching. The escape was not over yet. The stepdaughter versus stepmother. The tunnel walls trembled as Daniel and Lyra ran, the sound of heavy footsteps chasing them. The hunters' voices echoed like growls in the dark, closer with every second. Daniel's breath burned in his chest, but he kept running, gripping Lyra's hand tightly. Finally, they burst out of the tunnel and into the forest. The cold night air struck their faces, but there was no time to rest. Shadows moved between the trees, hunters spreading out, cutting off escape. Daniel spun around, trying to find a path. "This way," he hissed, pulling Lyra toward a narrow trail. But the forest suddenly grew silent. Too silent. Then a voice, calm and sharp, filled the air. "Running will not save you, child." Daniel froze. He knew that voice now. The voice that had haunted the fields, the one that called Lyra's name like a curse. From the mist, she stepped forward, tall, cloaked in black, her skin glowing faint blue. Her eyes were deep and cruel, yet strangely beautiful. The stepmother. The hunters stopped moving, bowing their heads slightly as if she were a queen. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. Lyra's grip on Daniel's hand tightened. Her small body trembled, but her eyes were locked on the woman. "Why won't you leave me alone?" she whispered. The stepmother smiled slowly. "Because you belong to me. You are the key, Lyra. With your voice I will control not just minds, but hearts. No human will resist me." Daniel stepped in front of Lyra. "She doesn't belong to you. She's not a weapon. She's a child." The stepmother tilted her head, studying him with cold amusement. "And you, human? What are you? A farmer? A wanderer? You think you can protect her? You are nothing. You are already mine." Her eyes glowed brighter, and Daniel felt a pressure in his skull, as if invisible hands were squeezing his mind. He staggered, holding his head, hearing whispers that weren't his own. "Daniel!" Lyra cried, pulling at him, but the stepmother's smile widened. "See, even he cannot resist me." Daniel dropped to one knee, his vision blurring. The whispers inside his mind grew louder. Obey, kneel, submit. Then he heard another sound, softer, warmer, Lyra's voice. She stood tall, her small hands clenched into fists, her silver eyes burned like fire. No, she whispered. He is not yours, and I am not yours either. Her voice grew louder, stronger. It was not just sound, it was feeling. Hope, courage, love. It spread through the trees like a wave. Daniel felt the pressure in his skull break. The whispers faded. His lungs filled with air again. He looked at Lyra in awe. The stepmother's smile vanished. Her eyes narrowed with fury. Ungrateful child, do you think you can fight me? Lyra's voice shook but did not stop. I am not afraid of you. The hunters flinched, their golden eyes flickering. Some stumbled, clutching their heads as if her voice cut through the control inside them. The stepmother raised her hand and black energy surged from her palm, striking the ground near Lyra. The earth cracked, dirt flying into the air. Daniel jumped forward, pulling Lyra aside just in time. Move, he shouted. The stepmother's cloak swirled as she stepped closer. You cannot win, little one. I gave you life. I can take it back. Lyra's face twisted with pain. No. My father gave me life. My mother gave me hope. You only gave me fear. Her voice rang like a bell, echoing through the forest. The hunters fell to their knees, their eyes dimming. Some collapsed completely, their control broken. The stepmother hissed, fury twisting her face. Enough! She raised both hands, black energy glowing like fire. But before she could strike, Daniel hurled a heavy stone at her. It hit her shoulder, and though it barely slowed her, it gave Lyra a moment. The little girl stood tall, her body glowing brighter than ever. Her voice rose, not in fear but in defiance. You will not bury me again. The air shook. The trees trembled. Daniel felt the power of her words in his very bones. The stepmother staggered back, covering her ears, her face twisted with rage. For the first time, she looked less like a queen and more like a cornered predator. But then, just as suddenly, she stopped. Her cruel smile returned. You grow stronger, child, but you are still only a spark. I will let you live, for now. Because soon, when the world is mine, you will kneel at my side. Her cloak swirled, and in a flash of light she vanished into the shadows. The forest fell silent again. The hunters were gone, their bodies dissolved into the night. Daniel dropped to his knees, breathing hard. He looked at Lyra, who stood shaking, her glow fading, tears running down her cheeks. He pulled her into his arms. You did it, he whispered. You fought her. Lyra sobbed quietly against his chest. But she's not gone. She'll come back. Stronger. Daniel held her tighter. His voice was steady even though his heart still raced. Then we'll be ready. Above them, the night sky stretched wide and endless, the stars watching silently. But somewhere, far beyond those stars, others were listening, and they had heard Lyra's voice. The final choice. The forest was quiet, but Daniel and Lyra knew it was only the calm before the storm. The stepmother had retreated, yet her voice still echoed in their minds. Soon, the world will be mine. Daniel stared at the dark factory in the distance. Its towers pulsed with blue light stronger than before, as if fed by the stepmother's rage. The core inside throbbed like a giant heart, beating across the land. Lyra sat on a fallen log, her small body weak, her silver eyes dim. She looked up at Daniel with trembling lips. We cannot wait anymore. If the core grows stronger, soon no human will resist her voice. Everyone will belong to her. Daniel crouched beside her. His hands were rough, his body sore, but his eyes burned with determination. Then we end it tonight. Lyra's gaze dropped. If we fail, she will bury me again. And you? She hesitated. You will die. Daniel placed his hand gently on her shoulder. If we succeed, you'll never be buried again. You'll be free. And maybe, just maybe, the world will be safe. Lyra's small fingers wrapped around his hand. For the first time, her lips curved into the faintest smile. Then we go together. The night was dark when they reached the factory again. Smoke curled from vents, Shadows of hunters patrolled the walls, and the humming of the core filled the air. Daniel led the way through the drainage tunnels once more, his pack heavier now with explosives. Lyra followed silently, her bare feet splashing in shallow water. When they emerged inside, Daniel froze. Hundreds of humans worked in silence, their faces empty, their eyes glowing faint blue. They moved like machines, building more towers, more wires, more prisons. Lyra's hand trembled. They are trapped in her song. They cannot hear themselves anymore. Daniel clenched his fists. Then we'll break her song. They crept along the shadows until they reached the center. There it stood, the core, a massive crystal, glowing with cold blue fire, its light pulsing with every beat of the stepmother's power. Daniel placed the explosives around its base. His hands shook, not from fear but from urgency. This should bring it down, he whispered. But before he could finish, a voice cut through the hall. Do you really think I would not see you? Coming back? The stepmother stepped out of the shadows, her cloak swirling. The humans froze, then turned toward Daniel and Lyra, their glowing eyes staring without emotion. The hunters appeared too, lining the walkways above. Daniel pulled Lyra behind him. Run when I say, he whispered. But Lyra shook her head. No, it must be me, only my voice can break her hold. The stepmother laughed softly. Yes, child, use your voice. Shout until you break. It will not matter. You are mine. Her hand rose, dark energy swirling like fire. Daniel moved to block her, but Lyra stepped forward, her small frame glowing faintly in the cold blue light. Her voice rang out. Not weak, not afraid, strong, clear. I am not yours. The sound shook the hall. Humans stopped moving. Hunters clutched their heads. The core itself flickered. The stepmother screamed, her face twisting. Silence, child. She hurled black energy at Lyra, but Daniel leapt in front of her, taking the blast on his shoulder. He fell groaning but alive. Lyra's voice grew louder, echoing with power. You will not rule this world. You will not bury me again. Your control is broken. The humans gasped, as if waking from a nightmare. Their eyes cleared, fear and confusion rushing back. Hunters collapsed, their glowing eyes fading. The core cracked. Light burst from its heart. Daniel, bleeding but standing, shouted, Now, Lyra! Finish it! She raised her face to the core, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her voice rose, filled with every ounce of pain, hope, and love inside her. Be free! The core shattered. A wave of light surged across the hall, then across the land. Towers fell. Wires snapped. The stepmother screamed, her body dissolving into smoke and shadow. Then silence. The humans fell to the ground, dazed but alive. The hunters were gone. The factory walls cracked, trembling, ready to collapse. Daniel staggered to Lyra and caught her as she nearly fainted. She was pale, exhausted, but alive. You did it, he whispered. It's over. But Lyra shook her head weakly. No, it is not over. She is not gone. She is only hiding, and others heard me. Out there. She pointed toward the stars. Daniel looked at the sky through the broken roof. The stars twinkled coldly. Somewhere far away, someone was listening. He held Lyra close, his voice steady. Then let them come, because now they'll know. Humans will fight back. The factory collapsed behind them, blue fire turning to ash. And far in the silence of space, a signal pulsed through the dark. A voice answered, whispering through the stars. We heard her. The child lives.